Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actor Gregory Lewis and singer-composer James Torme. Actor, writer Greg Lewis grew up in Chicago. He left his home at 15 years old to travel with the world-famous Harmonicats, led by Jerry Murad. Greg tells about his journey in the one-man play, Some Greeks Are Not in the Restaurant Business, which is playing at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. First of all, how could a 15-year-old leave and go on the road?
It wasn't easy, I'll tell you. What happened was, I conned my father into going on the road, and I conned the school authorities into going on the road. And once I went on the road, I never went back to school.
So that was the whole thing, that's right.
It was a big con, in other words. But I remember when we used to work nightclubs or somewhere, they used to have to put a little mustache, a little charcoal up here.
Really?
Yeah, and Jerry Muradian, Armenian.
Armenian.
Yeah, he was a sly fox. He used to come up, he used to go, "Hey man," he says, "this guy's got," he says, "he's married, he's got 3 kids." And I wasn't even 16.
You were a kid yourself,
yeah.
Right? And then when that came to an end, you went with your friend, a Greek, Gus Christie, and started a comedy team.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
Oh, we were, let's see, about 18.
Oh.
About 20, 21, 20.
The Mad Greeks?
The Mad Greeks.
And what did you guys do?
We did satire and stuff, and we got very lucky. We played at the Playboy Club one night. We substituted for Dick Gregory.
Oh.
And we became a big hit at Playboy, and then we got all kinds of stuff. We did Sullivan, we did the Hollywood Palace, Merv, may he rest in peace.
Yeah,
we used to do a lot.
With
Mike
him?
Douglas, may he rest in peace.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think in your show you did these kind of funny introductions by Ed Sullivan.
Yeah. Well, we do that for the show, but my mother was the one. See, my mother could never understand show business because my father and my mother didn't have any idea, because in Greece, where they both came from, the entertainers relied on tips.
Oh, so they didn't think you were going to make any money.
He said, at least play the violin.
That's right.
Then you could play in a symphony orchestra. But a harmonica, unheard of.
But that was pretty weird, playing the harmonica, wasn't it? Were all the kids on the street playing it?
Everybody.
How did they learn to play it? I never could even make any noise on it.
From comic books.
Is that right?
Yep. That's what we learned. And then we used to hang out backstage when the Harmonicats or any professional harmonica player would be working, and then we'd hang out backstage and they'd give us tips on how to play better.
Is that right?
That's how I got to know the Harmonicats.
Oh, that's how you met them.
Yeah. And then when one guy got sick, they asked me to, substitute for him.
They called you in, yeah. That was great. But then, and Ed Sullivan, when he would introduce you, would do what? You did that. That was funny.
No, he was something else. Because, see, Sullivan didn't know what to say,
Right.
He didn't know what to say. And when he said something, it always came out wrong, so that's why he misspoke a lot of times.
I see. Were you the
one time he was doing the commercial. He goes, "And now a word from Lincoln Mercury," and he goes, "Bloop," and he spins into the curtain, and he couldn't get out.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there. I heard about it. And he goes, "What? Help!"
That's very funny.
And he disappeared into the curtain.
Well,
you know.
One of the things you talked about was being Greek, and you're the one who gives all these Greek insults on your show. No one else could do that.
Well, the Greeks, see, my mother, you know, as you know, you come from an Armenian background,
Right.
correct? Okay. Very close, very similar. I remember when I first went with Jerry, he used to have madzum. He used to say,
Oh, we love madzum.
His father used to say, "You want madzum? I have make madzum."
Right.
He says, "I strain madzum.
Oh, he made it thick.
I made it thick madzum. You put on bread."
Really?
Oh yeah, and we used to go for these long car trips with the Turkish coffee and madzum sandwiches we used to make.
That's great.
Yeah,
Now,
and garlic, put a little garlic on them.
cucumbers,
And then one-
tomatoes.
yeah, and then one time we're going through the South, and we got this little thing, and we open it up, and the cop stops us, and he looks in, and he says, "What the hell is that you're eating?" And we went, "Madzum."
No one knew it was yogurt then.
Nobody.
Because yogurt wasn't
No,
really popular.
no.
I think the other funny thing talking about that is you say, my mother was here for 60 years and never spoke a word of English. So was my grandmother.
Yeah, they never. And then my mother, my mother was great. She was a great actress. My mother didn't know it. And people used to come up to her and talk for a long time. They say, you know, something, a long paragraph or something, and then she'd go, oh yeah, She was great at reacting. And then she'd turn around to me in Greek and go, "What does he say?"
Oh, not a word?
Couldn't understand a word.
But they knew what to do.
Oh, yeah.
And they knew everything.
And then she would turn around. She would turn around and she would go,
Oh, make fun of him?
yeah.
That's so
And
bad.
then I went, oh gosh,
Did she give you your first harmonica?
no,
No.
I did that myself.
Where'd you find that?
I found it in a comic book, in the back of a comic book.
Oh, you did? Then comic books
Yeah,
did
and it
have
said,
a
you get the
influence.
harmonica, and it was a plastic harmonica, and they advertised it, and I bought it, and I learned how to play it. That's how I learned how to play.
Well, from that plastic harmonica, we went to this. We want to show this before so we can see what a monster it is.
Yes, it is.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
27 inches long. Yeah.
And two top and bottom?
It's top and bottom. It's chords. It's all chord. It takes the place of a guitar, piano.
Does it the bottom play too?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And we used to use this for Peg My Heart.
Oh, right. Oh, bravo. That's great.
Thank
Do you do breath exercises?
What? Do you have any oxygen?
Do you have to do special
No.
breath? No?
But because of this, that I can do it because I trained myself to do it.
Is that right?
Now you just saw the world's largest harmonica.
Was it made in Stuttgart?
Of course,
Oh, of course.
Hohner.
Oh,
Hohner Company.
I knew that was a really special.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I endorse the Hohner. I'm an endorser for the Hohner
But
Company.
look how great it is. And you said
Yeah.
you have the smallest one?
Yeah, from the largest to the smallest.
Which is. Did they
Huh?
used to give those away? Could you buy those for Halloween?
How do you think I got it?
I
Somebody gave it away.
I wanted to ask you when you were on stage, when you pulled this little tiny thing, I went,
Yeah.
I think I had one of those.
Yeah, everybody has.
Did they?
Yeah. But it's...
Does it play? Fabulous.
hey,
Is this a Greek tradition?
what? The
Harmonica.
No, it isn't.
What, bouzouki, huh?
No, they want bouzouki and violin. That's what my father. You play violin. You never make money playing the harmonica.
So there you are. Then you started your comedy team. Then you got into acting.
Yes, I did. I did under the expert tutelage of Milton Katselas.
Another great Greek.
Yes, yes. He really, and the whole show came from Milton.
The show at the Beverly Hills
It
Playhouse.
started out, it started out as a personal monologue,
Oh.
10-minute monologue
For his class?
for his class.
Oh, that's so great.
And then he says, "Do more of it." And then I would talk more, and I would talk about my family. And he goes, "That's good. Put that stuff in, and put this and put that."
So he just sits individually and
Yeah,
helps you
yeah.
develop something. That's so great.
See, Phil Foster
Oh, right.
first made me aware that my family was funny,
I see.
and Milton showed me how to
Put it
together.
What about your director? Did you need a director?
Bobby Walden, good actor, and a terrific director, terrific actor, terrific director. He was in Curtains here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of film, probably because of your acting classes.
Yeah.
Frankie and Johnny, you played a Greek chef.
Greek chef. Wow, what a stretch.
What about in Dear God?
Dear God, I was a Greek bailiff.
Oh, but you
Yeah.
don't always play ethnic parts then.
No. I was in Princess Diaries 1 and 2. I was Baron von Trocken.
Oh, well, that's kind of
Yeah, that's kind of.
Kind of.
I was the guy. Did you see Princess Diaries?
one of them, yes.
Okay, I was the guy that was trying to take the crown away from the princess.
Oh, right. Do you have to go to special class to learn those dialects?
I have a pretty good ear.
Oh, you just use that.
Yeah, I have an ear like Van Gogh.
So your family was a big mix. No ear. Okay, it's going by me. I'm like trying
That's
to
okay. Don't worry. I'll do the next one slower.
Your
You're
family
delightful. You know that? You're a delightful lady.
Your family was a big mix. You're married to a Jewish woman.
Yes, my wife is Jewish and Turkish.
Oh, she is.
Yes, and
Oh, well, the Greeks love the Turks.
and Jackie Leonard said, your mother must have hated her twice.
That's so
He goes,
good.
Turkish and Jewish, that's one hell of a combination. She not only makes the rugs, but doesn't let anybody walk on them.
Did he used to do that?
Yeah.
Did Roberta laugh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think the funniest thing before we leave is like your father used to always blame everything on Catholic school.
Oh, yeah. And he blamed, and when you come and see the show, you'll find out why.
Oh, we can't tell him
I
why.
can't tell him
right?
why.
No.
I can't tell him why.
Well-
because it is a little bit of an adult phrase, that I would use.
But you use it all the way through.
Oh, yes.
That.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And it was because of my father that I did go to Catholic school in the first place.
well,
So
we're glad you came to the Joan Quinn Profiles.
I am too.
Thank you very much.
I had a beautiful time.
Thanks. And don't go away. We'll be right back with James Torme. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. James Torme was born and raised in Los Angeles and London. He grew up where his mother was an actress and his grandmother was a very famous actress. And his father in Los Angeles was Mel Torme. So he had long flights between Los Angeles and London which gave James a chance to listen to his father's music. And his father was a Grammy Award winner. So you came to UCLA after being raised with this famous father. And did you start your career then?
Well, actually, at that point in time, I was still sort of holding off on diving in full speed into the singing career.
I wondered, was it off-putting for a young boy?
Well, people ask me that question about my father, you mean?
Right.
Well, I think being preluded by anybody who's sort of brilliant is a double-edged sword if you're going to do that same thing yourself.
Right.
I think the key is to be able to do something that's comparable, something that's on a quality level that's sort of tantamount to that, or you've got trouble, I think.
Yeah, but what could you do? Here you had a mother who was an actress.
Right.
You had
My grandmother.
Thora Bird.
Thora Hurd, right.
Thora Hurd,
Yeah.
excuse me.
No, that's okay.
She's a bird from London. What can we say?
Exactly. She's no bird from London. But, oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely sort of New Jersey-sized footprints to try and fill on both sides of my family.
And what was your grandmother doing? Was she acting when you were young?
Yes, my grandmother, she was in sort of 900 plays on the West End of London, probably the #1 contributor to British television, film, and radio of sort of all time.
I see.
And sort of a Lucille Ball, Angela Lansbury.
Oh, she was?
Carol Burnett, all rolled into one, if you could do that.
And then your mother had to follow her footsteps.
My mom, there's my mom, my lovely
Jeanette
mom.
Scott. So
That's
she
right.
had to follow
Well,
Dora's.
yes, she did. She had that double-edged sword that I was just talking about in her life. But she was in her first film at 18 months. She was sort of born into it.
Oh, because of
Because
that.
Ganny, who's my grandmother, we call her Ganny, she was, already under contract to British Associated, so she was sort of born into a contract.
And then your sister, Daisy, who's an actress,
Daisy,
had to follow
an
the
excellent
acting.
actress, had to follow the footsteps on the acting side. So we were the first generation of our family that had to actually audition for these things.
Is that right?
We're going through the real process, Mom and Dad.
Did it help or hinder?
Well, I think that, again, having had the parents that we've had, having had the heredity that we've had, we've been very lucky because we've seen that it's possible. We've had those examples made for us. But by the same token, and just as I've said, with the way that those three all started very young, they don't even remember when they begun the process of entering into entertainment. They were just always involved in it. So there was a different test for Daisy and I, and all of the children of sort of my dad.
Yeah, your dad had
the
a
Torme children.
the whole family, right?
Yes, there are 5 of us. I'm the youngest, and so we've all had to sort of prove to ourselves and to the world on a separate level what we were capable of.
That's a lot different.
Yeah, but with the
say.
confidence, you know what I mean? You have the confidence going in.
When you were at home with him, you had a lot of famous people come around.
Sure.
I think
I
this
see
is
you're
great.
holding
You
up,
brought this. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, that's my dad and Sammy Davis Jr., obviously. That's probably from the Sands, where they did an engagement in '75. There was a period during that time where they were literally a mutual fan club. I mean, they really just did a number on each other anytime either of them were interviewed. They'd pretty much say that the other was the greatest undiscovered talent of all time, or discovered but underrepresented talent of all time. But yes, this is a representative of something important in my dad's life, which is that he was really one of the first people who broke down the color barrier in entertainment. He insisted on doing a racially mixed act based on the talent level, which is all he cared about, and the friendship levels between him and people like Nat Cole, Sammy Davis Jr., Duke Ellington, Count Basie. And they were doing that sort of 10 years before anyone else was doing that. So I brought that because I'm very proud of that.
Were there a lot of those people coming in and out of your house?
Sure. I mean, we had everyone from sort of Donald O'Connor to people like Gene Hackman. Betty White was a regular at our home. So just like a lot of people that my dad, I think, related to from his generation. And
when we talked about your traveling back and forth, you were very young, and you were listening to your father's music. What kind of music was that?
Well, all that was, I listened to a lot of my dad's early recordings that other people don't even have, like early 78s and stuff from a very early part in his career, when he was still pretty much almost like a teen idol, a Bobby Sox idol.
Exactly.
Briefly.
No Bobby
Yeah,
Sox.
you don't have your Bobby Sox on, I'm out of here. But basically, I listened to a lot of that stuff, a range of different periods in his career, but again, an inordinate amount of time I was able to spend listening to that and also whatever was current on Walkman in the early days. This was I'm dating myself now, the early days of Walkman.
The early days of iPod.
Of iPod.
Which was
well, I say that and I sound more modern.
Right, but it was jazz and rock and roll and soul that you were mixing.
Well, I was mixing it all, but mainly the dad portion of that, the ingredient was all jazz mainly and popular.
Well, how did you find a style of your own? Because I know you've recorded.
Sure.
You have
that's my
CD.
first record that turned out to be the #1 all-time independent jazz EP.
So it's jazz.
Jazz. Well, it's not quite as simple as that. I am an evolution of my dad and his peers and those influences. But you see, I've had the influences of everything that's come out since the jazz era as well.
That's what I mean.
The influences of the jazz era. That was my dad's influences, the influences of his childhood on the radio. And I have kept my childhood radio experiences, sort of Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, the late 70s really, and the 80s, are represented in the music that I do. The little contemporary touches and things that...
Do you sing their music with your own touches to it?
Yeah, in other words, I take a lot of the classic American, great older songs with the notions of romance that are dying out so quickly around us, and I put, an edge on them, basically. I make them newly relevant, or try to.
So do you rearrange?
That's my brand new album you're holding up right there.
I know, we had it.
I'm so proud of that.
Beautiful.
That's my first full-length album. It's called James Torme Live It on the Path, and it's a live album.
So you did it when you were doing shows on stage?
Just on the 6th of June, just recently. Just recorded an evening of my shows.
Well, you did an evening. You've done a couple of evenings of shows. You did something in Thousand Oaks with a huge orchestra.
Just recently. It was an incredible night.
But that was a really kind of bittersweet, because the person who was leading the orchestra had worked with your father.
Well,
or
there were
his
many
father.
Connections. This was a family affair here.
Right.
What I did was I did a sort of a show that was about 30% more ambitious than any single show I ever saw my dad did. So perfect for my first show, huh?
That was your first one?
Yeah, basically my first show on the symphonic level. And so
well, talk about
we tributed, I did 3 sort of things in that show. I did the best of James Torme, which is sort of new arrangements and never before heard things that had been created for that show of songs that I do. Ain't No Sunshine, a couple of the Stevie Wonder things that even Dad didn't do. And then I did the best of Mel Torme, several of my father's greatest sort of arrangements, including Folks Who Live on the Hill and a bunch of stuff, actually a lot of which is represented on this box set you've so aptly
This is great. Look how old it looks.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? And then the third thing we did was we tributed my dad and Marty Paich.
Tell us about him.
Marty Paich was really the greatest arranger for my buck, and my dad's sort of favorite arranger, sort of the Nelson Riddle, if you will, of my dad's career. And he was incredible. And Marty Paich and my dad had a chapter of West Coast jazz that they basically created together during my dad's tenure on a label called Bethlehem, which was only around for about 10 years, from about 55 to 65. Or 52, 62, something
Very
like that.
big, Bethlehem.
Yeah, they made 7, they went out of business after 10 years, but they had some great records and some amazing names on that label, considering the fact that it folded after 10 years.
I know.
But 7 albums were made by Marty Paich and Dad on the Bethlehem label, and they were incredible, groundbreaking West Coast vocal jazz albums. We tributed those albums by doing 3 of the unique Marty Paich dectet pieces, and then I did the California Suite. I see these lemons sitting here. You have these lemons. Now that reminds me of the California Suite, which we did as the last section, a special reordered, shortened version of my dad's ode to the great Golden State, which he wrote when he was 23 years old. And at the time, it was chosen to be the first ever LP on Capitol.
So he was younger than you are right
He
now.
was,
sitting
indeed,
in
10
front
years
of us.
younger, and he was writing full symphonic pieces and incredible body, sweeping melodies and underrepresented and never really been heard. So I wanted to get that out there, and we did it with the New West Symphony.
That was really great because I went to the rehearsal of
Oh,
that.
that's right.
I was at the rehearsal. But the thing that was so brilliant is you usually work with a trio, right?
Right.
And what, a piano, drum?
I have an amazing young trio.
Those people
Brandon
played.
Coleman and Ryan Cross and Gene Coy.
Didn't they play with the orchestra?
We put my trio inside the orchestra, and that was the only way that I wanted to do that concert, because I said, if you want James Torme, you have to have me and the trio playing inside the symphony. That way you can have the contrast of the jazz players against the classical players.
But I watched them. They are brilliant.
Oh,
They're so
thank you.
nice, and they have this kind of, to me it seemed like they gave you the confidence of, you were walking through the orchestra with your mic, just talking to the string players and then
Right.
singing. How do you get that?
Well, remember that I'm a kid.
attitude?
First of all, just as you said, you picked up on it perfectly. The confidence that one is given with such tremendous talent around me. I'm very fortunate. I have these young, amazing talents, and we're also great friends, and we're family, and you know, we joke about everything. Nothing's off the menu, okay? But also, I'm a kid who learned to skateboard up and down the hallways of the Desert Inn as
That's
a
pretty
son of an
cool.
entertainer. You know, much to the chagrin of the guests there
Yeah.
that summer. But my point is that, so, you know, this is something that we've been steeped in, Daisy and I, as kids on the road with Dad. You know, we were always the kids, so we were the ones, we were talking to the players. We were wandering off and talking to the string players when we weren't supposed to.
Is that
So
how
as
you
an
got
adult,
that?
I just have a comfort level with people like that, because, you know, those are people from the family business, you know, and a lot of those people played with Dad and Marty. Halfway through that rehearsal that you were at, David, who was the first violin, sitting there, says, this is really intense, because what I didn't tell you is that we had Marty Page's son,
Right.
David Page,
Right.
who is an 8-time Grammy winner himself with the band Toto. We had him as a guest conductor, conducting all of his father's music that his father arranged for my father in that concert.
That's what was so incredible.
So this string guy says to me, this is really bringing back some incredible memories. I said, what? He said, I did all of the stuff with your dad and Marty, and now I'm sitting here playing, and it's you and David. And I just thought, what a moment that was. And a couple of times during that concert that you asked me about, I just looked down at him, you know, and we shared a real moment there.
Right.
So
Well, that's what it
it's
looked
special.
like. And I'm so glad you shared it with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017.